6:15. I shall call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening. I shall ask for a roll call, please. Carolina?
Councilmember Corrales?
Yes.
Colby? Miller?
Yes.
Gollster?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. Oh. Once again, greetings everyone and welcome to this City Council meeting on November 10th on the eve of Veterans Day. We will start once again with Mayor Waller's quote for the day, and of course with Veterans Day in mind tomorrow, I picked out a quote from actually an unknown author. For the veteran, thank you for bravely doing what you're called to do so we can safely do what we're free to do. And I guess that being said, I'd like to recognize all veterans and family members out there in the listening audience. Thank you for your service. So we shall move on to approval of tonight's agenda. I'll just ask the council. Hi there, Joe. You caught me off guard. Sitting over there. Oh, I'll just ask the council if they have any additions or corrections before I also entertain a motion to approve. But I guess under citizens' comments, we do have two individuals that would like to speak. They called and, of course, wanted to be on the agenda, so that would be under citizens' comments, Mary Elizabeth Bezanson and Annette Watson. And I just want to say thank you for calling ahead. That helps.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we have no public hearings tonight. We shall move on to reading and approval of our meeting minutes from October 28th, 2025, and that would be our regular meeting minutes.
I'll move approval of the regular meeting minutes for October 28th, 2025.
I will second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve our October 28th, 2025 regular meeting minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And then we have the condensed version of those same minutes from October 28th, 2025.
I will move approval of the condensed version. Are they in here too? Yeah, of the minutes of October 28th, 2025.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the October 28th, 2025 condensed version of the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we will move on to our consent agenda, which tonight consists of the audit of city bills, our gambling reports, the Morris Transit report, and pay estimate number 2, Project 1 construction. And I will move approval of the items on the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second, and I guess at this point, at this time, I'll bring it back over to the city council for any discussion on any of their items. I just wanted to briefly speak to some correspondence that we received via email from Mr. Jim Stoker. I think we all were included on that message, and he just highlighted a few areas that he was questioning and wanted to make sure that the city council, I guess, not even sure really how to say it, but just that we're aware of those charges. And I don't have any really particular response directly to any of the items he raised. We do have a lot of those items, I think, that were questioned were items we budgeted for. So I guess I don't have any concerns.
Line 26, sewer line maintenance, East Third, that is going to insurance. Did we have a break, or is that just, what's going on with that?
Yeah, that was an insurance claim with, some issues with the sewer line in the street to the house. And so there's an ongoing claim with it, so that's just an invoice towards that.
I guess I don't have anything else. Just a general comment. I think it's, in one respect, Jim, I want to applaud you for digging in and looking at those expenses. I think as we all know, most of us that have been sitting around this table for a few years, it takes a lot of money to make the city run. So I think what you're getting a flavor for is just how much money it does take. So taking the time to look is, I guess I'll applaud you for that. Any other questions, comments from any members of the council on the consent agenda? All right, hearing none, I have a motion and a second to approve the items on the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to our petitions, requests, and communications. What we have here under line item A is we're just going to have a discussion, I guess is the best way to word this here, on ordinance number 129, which is our ordinance regulating public nuisances within the city of Morris. We had a work session, we discussed a few things, and now what you're looking at is kind of the revised version of that. So before we go into the first reading, which would probably be our next action, we just thought it'd be prudent to have an open discussion about it and maybe just air any things that you think you might want to change at this point. Or Becky, you want to maybe just speak to that in general?
Yep, no, you said it right there.
Okay.
Some discussion on our last work session and.
I don't think anything's been changed since the
Right.
work session, though.
Right. So there are certain things that we'll have to look at, time limits and things.
I
And
think
then
in
any
general,
changes.
what we're just trying to do here is just put some regulations and I guess rules, if you will, in place. We just want our city to look good, right? It's just all about being a good neighbor. And I think a lot of the things, we can sometimes read maybe too much into what the ordinance is trying to say, but, you know.
Yeah, looking at some teeth. So when we had some issues with some properties, earlier this year, we don't have a lot of teeth behind our ordinance. So not a lot we could do to mitigate problems when they came up. Mhm.
Okay. I guess
So-
I didn't see anything that stood out to me as I read through it.
I just had some clarification questions again about like the accumulation of storage of junk or refuse, subdivision 8. Is that, what parts of the property is that? And are we so if it's a corner house, is it the side and the front, or is this just the front yard or the whole yard, or does that need to be said or not said?
I think it's anywhere unless there's a
fencing around it, okay, and that's what I wanted to
Mhm.
clarify, okay,
And that is the language from the existing ordinance.
okay. That is anywhere, okay. And then, is this covered like boulevards, when people leave their couches out on a boulevard, you know, for months?
I think it would, yes.
That would cover that, and is there a time frame for how long they can leave that out?
I think that'd be one of
That's
the
in
things
here.
we have to,
Still decide the
yeah,
time
subdivision 11, the abatement process there.
frame? Okay,
Correct me if I'm wrong, Keegan.
Well, it does have, time limits in there. That would be the time limits that were already there for, in the ordinance as is right now. You would definitely want to have those match the enforcement part.
Sure.
So I didn't change those numbers. If you want to direct our office to change those numbers, we can. That's up to you guys. But yeah, on page 6, it does say, can't store refuse on residential or commercial purposes, type 2, for a continued period in excess of 7 days. And then, on commercial premises, type 1, for a continued period in excess of 96 hours. So that's the current, ordinance.
okay, refuse, garbage and refuse, are we defining refuse, or are we just saying?
Yep, refuse is defined earlier,
Yep.
under the definitions part, starting on page 1. And I would say the definition of refuse and junk were directly taken from the existing ordinance, as well as residential premise and commercial premise. Those are all already the ordinance. I believe I took out of refuse about cars because there's a separate section that addresses
Mhm.
cars.
Subdivision 3, on page 2, letter C, all ponds or pools of stagnant water, obviously, I mean, we have to say within reason, like if we get a large rain, like catastrophic event like this year, that'll take just some time, we can't necessarily do anything about that for drainage. And obviously this does not, the intention is not for, let's say, a pool, but that is one of my questions, is because of how broad it is.
I mean, you could certainly add in untreated stagnant water, which would then exclude pools. You could also add in a number of days that it needs
Yeah.
to remain, so that it's not just after it rained and now there's suddenly a huge puddle. I think those would be reasonable enforcement things
Sure.
as well, but I think if you want to put that language in, I think that's how you do it, is probably say untreated, and then put a time limit.
That would be one of the comments that I would have for that, is to put in that about untreated then.
May I borrow your pencil? My pen exploded.
And, we've received some community, I guess, comments at our office on various parts. Would it make most sense to bring back some alterations for a future first reading, or would the council like to? There's two ways to do this, as I understand it. There's do another first reading somewhere down the line. There's move this draft forward with the understanding that changes will be made at subsequent meetings, but they might be those changes might be subsequent enough. You need a second public hearing then, so it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Yeah.
I think it would be useful at this time if you could decide amongst yourselves what the time limits are gonna be, and then direct our office to change the ordinance in accordance with that. Cause, I mean, it can be whatever time you want for it, I just need to know which numbers to put where.
So starting in subdivision 6. Is the first highlighted for that.
I don't have the highlighted version.
Unlawful parking and storage
Okay.
is where that,
Yes, so there'd be
Yep.
two numbers under there, there's 48 hours and there's 100 feet. And those obviously are variable depending on what the council decides.
That's really what it's always been, right? 48 hours?
Yeah.
I don't see a problem with that at all.
Well, this, under number 1, this would be placement or storage of ice fishing houses, skateboard ramps, playhouses, or other similar non-permanent structures which are not currently regulated under the nuisance ordinances. So this would be new.
And it's in the front yard area.
Yes, it says front yard area.
Yeah.
correct.
Right.
So just say, if someone has an ice house and they store it on their property for the winter, they can have it 100 feet back and it's okay.
Mhm.
And for more than 48 hours, or are we saying only 48 hours?
If it's more than 100 feet back,
Doesn't matter.
that's fine.
Okay. Okay.
And not in the front yard.
In the front yard
So it
specifically.
could still be in the front yard if it's,
Just has
if
to
If
be
it's
more
back,
than
but if
100
it's
feet.
in the
Correct.
side or back,
Yeah.
it's not gonna be
Or
a
if it's
problem.
anywhere on the side or back, yeah.
You'd have to have a large lot.
A very large lot.
Yeah. But then does that,
Yeah.
if
Wouldn't
that
fit
goes back to
mine.
my question, the side yards and junk.
I think with the house on the corner, I think they probably would both count since it's abutting a street, as you said.
Yep.
The ones abutting the street would count as the front
Yep.
yard.
Unless that, okay, that's. So my thing is, I just don't wanna separate everything by, it's this for all. Ice fishing, junk, the front side yard, 100 feet within, or less than 100 feet only can sit there for 48 hours. That's,
So you would want to add or side yard?
well, I think that's why I was asking about a corner lot, the corner lot, maybe clarify that, a corner house that has, are we clarifying that to say a corner lot cannot have the same things as the front yard when we talk about junk or ice fishing houses or anything like that?
If you would like it to be the same, I could certainly insert that language.
Okay, that's
Seems
what I'm
reasonable.
asking, you guys, because my thing is, if we're gonna do this for the front yard, if it's a corner lot, the side yard,
Where's
I
the
mean,
front?
it's the same look we're trying to
Yeah.
get here in a junk ordinance or a storage ordinance, right? Storage, so that it's, 100 feet in.
You could say 100 feet from any part of the property abutting a city street.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I like that. $100 feet, no matter which way, then whether it's a corner lot or not. Again, that would take a pretty big lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many properties there are that have that kind of size. Certainly not mine. Any other discussion on any other items? I read it through, I think, and we spent a fair amount of time with it the first night when we went through it, and
We've got some more that we need to talk about as far as
Yeah.
highlights, right? So
sure.
under, if we're good with keeping that the same, under that same unlawful parking, number 3, no more than 4 vehicles per lawful dwelling. To me, that feels right. And that's saying that as a father with 4 children, who has the potential for a lot more vehicles in my front yard, or in front of my house, but that feels like an adequate number.
And again, that's only for the outside parking, so if it's in a garage, it's not gonna count. And
Driveway. How about a driveway? I'm thinking of a rental house that is by us that has like 8 people in it.
Yep,
And they're-
for a driveway, it would be only the 4 unless it's somehow otherwise allowed. or required by the city.
Which on a snow alert would be required by the city to get them off the street. I'm just thinking of examples here that if this is the wording, how would this be enforced? And would
So
it
I
be-
don't think this would account for a snow emergency. It says no more than 4 vehicles per lawful dwelling may be parked or stored anywhere outside on residential property except as otherwise permitted or required by the city because of non-residential characteristics of the property.
So if it's a driveway,
So that's addressing like parking lots, but that wouldn't be addressing for if they need to be moved for a snow emergency.
then I'm going back to addressing, if it's a parking lot, it's a rental home. There's 6 cars there 95% of the time but it's technically a driveway, that would be okay.
Well, if there's more than one lawful dwelling unit there, like say.
No, it's a house.
So it's just one house, then it would be only 4 cars. So the 2 extra would have to be parked somewhere else, not in the yard.
Even if it's a driveway, considered a driveway, okay. And how,
But like an apartment building would have multiple lawful dwelling units, and so each of them would be able to have their own car.
But
Or
I
up
believe
to
that's
4.
addressed in our rental housing in our city
Yep.
separately also, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's correct, Jeff.
so in that case, if somebody were to complain, then it would become an issue with them having to move some of the cars just to keep 4 there.
Yes, I believe so.
I don't know, that one is kind of hard, because like you said, if you have 4 kids and they have 4 cars and you have 2 cars, you're gonna have 6
You're already over,
vehicles. You're
yeah.
over.
Now
and
granted-
like I said, in there's a few houses, that are rental units that have more than 4 people in them,
Mhm.
and if they each have a car, they're gonna have, and sometimes they cannot park on the city street for where they are, and in this case, they can't park overnight across the street, cause it's by the university. Or they can't park right in front, cause it's a no parking, so.
Well,
And
as
then
a-
don't we require that in our licensing ordinance that that they have parking spots for
Adequate parking.
adequate parking, which would be a front yard driveway. I mean, the driveway is there along with the area where they do park.
Well, it coincides with, like Jeff said, with our, landlord's requirement to provide off-street parking for your tenants,
So this would be okay.
up to 4 vehicles.
Well, I'm saying there's gonna be
Yeah.
more.
So are you wanting to look at maybe switching it to 6?
I'm looking at switching it, or if
Yeah, because this is every vehicle parked outside on the property, so not on the
And I
street.
get what we're trying to
or
do
in a
is
garage.
keeping the
Yeah.
person, the one single person from having accumulating, but then this doesn't take into account those homes that actually have a driver per vehicle that need that, and maybe that's how you could word it, that each car out there has to have a licensed driver?
Well, that's already
That, is that addressed
That's
somewhere
kind of
else?
that's kind of already
Yeah,
addressed, with
maximum
the-
number does not include vehicles of occasional guests do not reside on the property.
Well, that's not a guest.
And it says that they
True.
have to be, owned by the residents of the property.
Well, again, you could have someone that owns
Yeah,
8 vehicles and wants them all there, cause they're,
are you thinking about changing the number or creating an exception?
well, maybe create an exception. But how difficult is that? I mean, creating an exception for like, if this is, like for each licensed driver, they can have one vehicle. So that you're, you know, a large family or a rental home that has, you know, is like, has 6 bedrooms and 6 people, 6 licensed drivers in there, they're gonna have 6 cars. And if they're unable to park, and the one I'm thinking of, their parking is only in the front. There's no parking in the back because it's butts up against another person's yard.
You could say no more than 4, nor no more than 1 car per licensed driver in the household, whichever is greater.
Mm-hmm. So that would cover a large family that didn't have a big yard to park in, or a garage or a driveway.
Or you could just, I mean, if you wanna make it simpler, you could just say, well, every car needs to be registered.
That's in a different part.
Right, but, you know, is the concern that some routes will have too many cars, or is it the concern that there'll be just unregistered junk cars that?
This is the concern of just having too many cars
Okay.
in this section.
Okay.
The junk cars are in subdivision 7.
Okay.
So it would read
Which
no more
may
than.
cover this anyway, I mean, if it's a junk car. But again, I'm talking about the few houses in town that do not have the driveway or the parking space.
Yes, so it would read then no more than 4 vehicles per lawful dwelling unit, or no more than 1 vehicle per licensed driver residing in the dwelling unit, whichever is greater.
The properties you're talking about, do they have room to put a parking lot on their property or no?
Well, they kind of have a gravel area that they've paved out over the years, so it's kind of like a circular and then a driveway, but it's
So are they
all-
parking there now in the wintertime?
Yeah, they're parking there most of the time. But I think there's quite a few people living there. Like more than 4, more than 6.
God, there must be, I can't believe there's that many. That must be an exception to the norm, I would think. That's a
Well,
rather,
probably, but it still would be,
you have to address it, sure.
mhm.
Well, we could allow an exception, I suppose, like that. It wouldn't make that big a deal, because it's only gonna pertain to just a few properties probably, so.
I will add that language in there.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, the whole goal is we wanna keep people from parking out on the street, so, you know, our city guys can do their due diligence and do proper snow removal, so that's kind of the whole goal behind this.
I think just, that covers bigger families.
Oh,
and-
and both,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah.
properties that
Yep.
aren't very large, that don't have a lot of parking areas to park.
I'm kinda glad I'm not you. I don't know if I could afford the insurance on 6 vehicles. Oh, Zach.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Any members of the council?
Well, we've got
There's a couple
more in
highlighted.
here, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if subdivision 8, letter G, falls under that with 15-day notice. I assume that's because it's pink and yellow.
Mm-hmm. So that would be, I believe what was already in the prior ordinance, but if you wanted to change it, you certainly could. I would want it to probably agree with the enforcement provisions so that the notice is not stated differently, but
Mhm.
the actual number is up to the council, of course.
So I mean, in my mind, that letter G, and then in subdivision 9, mandatory collection, letter C. In my mind, those two timelines should theoretically match.
Yes.
What number would you like there?
having done these, how is it working? I mean, how many days? We had a few, didn't we, Becca, have a few junk, or what was the, what, you know, when you're, the office is the one that's gonna have to coordinate this, so we need to give enough time so that you can coordinate that, but then want it to move fast, so when we look at the two different timeframes, what
By
makes
the
the
time you send it out, your 15 days is nicer.
Mm-hmm.
To, you know, gives them a couple days to get it, do what they need to do, and then you have time to go back and look.
So keep it at the 15 day all the way through. I think
That's what
that
I
is, yeah, that's 2 weeks and that, yes.
Gives people some time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then that matches things like what we send out, or, oh no, that's every other month. Ignore what I was gonna say.
Strike it from my,
Yeah.
okay. Then I would say let's make them 15 days,
Mhm.
both of them. Change it from 7 to 15. Right? Is that how we're, yeah.
I would agree. The next one is subdivision 11, numbers 2 and 3.
Right, so these are dealing with, 2 is dealing with the maximum amount of time, the council can, the city basically can give them to remove the nuisance before the city would be obliged to act and, you know, potentially, abate the nuisance itself.
Which that 30 days was pretty common for what we.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
was adequate. And then if they were in communication and working with you, it could be extended. It's for if somebody just
Yeah.
is like, nope, mm-mm.
I would say for the 10 days there, if you are going to give them 15 days notice, I would say to change that 10 to 15.
Okay.
I would agree.
That makes sense.
And then I would say if you're going to give them longer notice, you may also want to, in 3 under there, give more than 72 hours for them to request a hearing, if you're giving them a longer lead time.
That was my note as well under that one. Slightly longer in case someone's out of town or whatever, something, life happens.
I mean, you could make it up to the full 15 days. I would not suggest that, because that doesn't
No.
give you time to prepare for the hearing.
Mm-hmm.
5 days?
I would say that's reasonable.
Yep, within 5 days after the receipt of the notice.
Would you like that to be 5 calendar days or 5 business days?
5 business days makes sense, doesn't it, or?
Well,
We only have 10 technically business days between the meetings.
So
Hmm.
probably
I'd say
5 calendar days.
5
Okay,
calendar days.
5 calendar days, that's fine too, sure.
And then technically speaking, subdivision 12, letter B, assessment, there's another timeline in there.
Yep, that's the same 15 days.
Yep,
Mhm.
So that's still okay.
should be okay then.
Were those the only days that were not in line with each other, ones we talked about? I think so.
So for the pools of untreated stagnant water, how long do you want to give that remaining for more than 48 hours?
That matches our snow and ice policy,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It's less confusion when you can match them all,
Yeah.
like, no, in my mind,
Right,
You don't have to think, well, you do have to think, but you don't have to think.
stagnant water is 72.
Yeah,
Snow,
it's
48.
nice to have consistency
Yeah.
throughout, I get it.
Yeah, I think the only other things were not the numbers so much as whether or not you actually wanted things that aren't currently regulated added in or not. So. I think technically subdivision 3D, the carcasses, that's not currently addressed. Privy votes under H, would not be currently addressed.
Oh, the L and M under subdivision 3 too.
Mhm. Currently, I don't believe is addressed. J obviously has its own little sections and everything. Um,
I just wonder, how do you enforce subdivision 3L, exposure of people having a contagious disease? And what do you do about that? And how are you gonna tell?
So that is one of the things that was in, the model ordinance, and I think it's to deal with situations like somebody's got COVID and they go and lick all the ice cream in the store, you know? But it's obviously, the way it's worded is subject to various interpretations. And I don't know that you'd need to include it, it's just something that can be included, that's why
I
it's in
would
the
like
draft.
not to include it, I just think that is asking, I mean, it's, can be too objective. Like,
So-
how do I know they have COVID?
I can remove that. Are there any other things in there that you want to remove under subdivision 3?
Well, with regards to inspections in general, who actually is gonna go out and do the inspections then, Becca?
For like all of these,
Yeah,
so a lot of
just in
these,
general.
our public works director does a lot of
Yes.
these
Okay.
for junk. Mhm. And then if we need to, we get the sheriff's office involved, but that's where we start with our public works.
Okay,
And then, under subdivision 4E, bedding, bookmaking, and all apparatus used in those occupations, and we're not talking about Super Bowl boards or anything like that, are we?
No, and
Would
these
that
are
be
already
considered as-
things that are regulated by other ordinances, so if you wanted to take out the entirety of subdivision 4, you certainly could. That's all new.
I
a
think,
lot of that speaks to the liquor, those types of violations are covered by our law enforcement anyway, right?
And also, yeah, the regulation of selling liquor. Yeah. So this is not the main regulations in our ordinances. These are basically just saying these are also nuisances, but you don't have to include them in here if you don't want to regulate them as nuisances.
in my mind, and feel free to disagree with me, but in my mind, I would be okay striking subdivision 4 in its entirety. And the
Mhm.
reason being that if you make a modification to one, you now have to modify both locations, and that's really easy to forget. So in my mind, I'd be okay striking, because it is already covered
Yep.
in section 5.14.
So I will remove subdivision 4.
I'm okay with that too.
Is there anything from subdivision 5 that needs to be removed?
I can just tell the council now, I received a comment from someone today asking, well, you know, can something be added to add protections for music in the park or certain events or things like that? And I said essentially that's council's prerogative. I don't know that those are things that are unprotected because you know, noise itself is not forbidden. It has to cause an unreasonable disturbing of the peace, quiet or repose. But
And there's nothing more
Yeah.
specific in there because, as I said at the the work session, noise is already addressed elsewhere in the ordinances, so those ordinances would obviously govern these specifics.
yeah, and then subdivision 5H, regarding the use of public street or sidewalk that causes large crowds or people to gather. I received a friendly suggestion from someone that since large gathering, at least as defined in this in this ordinance, is undefined, is beyond whatever the plain meaning of large gathering is, they had said insert language that changes it to, quote, any use that causes an obstruction of traffic or an obstruction of the free use of the street or sidewalk.
And that's what you wanna maintain in this, that there is not obstructing of traffic or the free use of the street or sidewalk, so
I think it's already written that way, though.
I think it just says large crowd, so they're wondering of wanting a definition of a large crowd?
I
It says
think,
that causes large crowds or people to gather, obstructing traffic and the free use of the street or sidewalk.
So
I think read as a whole, it already addresses
There's
that.
not a specific number, so it just, if it's obstructing,
And obviously,
it's
it
not-
wouldn't apply to constitutionally protected
correct,
you
it
know,
wouldn't,
speech
it
because
wouldn't apply to that, but you
our
could
ordinances
also.
are always,
You could also think of situations where, okay, somebody dumped a bunch of rocks there and just left. I mean, that might be prohibited by something else, but you can imagine a situation where it's not a crowd, but there's still an obstruction. So I don't know. It's up to the council. Just-
Something that came to mind was like Crazy Days, right, where all your vendors have stuff out front. And that's it's an exception and not the norm, but that technically speaking would be in violation of this then.
Yeah, I know, as long as, I did receive a call from a business owner, you know, when people gather, if they could just be respectful of their business, so people, when they, you know, allow people, like, if it restricts people's ability to get into their stores, you know, I don't know how, it's not something we can actually probably regulate, but that's more of a,
I mean, you could add limiting languages saying such that it unreasonably, you know, annoys or interferes with others' use, or you could add exceptions saying it's, you know, accepting, specifically you could do Crazy Days, or you could accept some sort of specific behavior. I'm
well,
not
the
sure if you-
parade would be that then
Yeah.
too, wouldn't it? I mean, you look at that, that would,
Technically speaking.
could technically be on there, so maybe just changing it somehow to unless, I mean, all of those events are permitted somehow, aren't they? They have to get, like, they have, or,
So I
a
think
like, yeah.
the other thing is that a nuisance is already prohibited and it maintains or permits a condition which unreasonably annoys, injures, or endangers all these things. So if you're thinking of adding language like that to the specific thing, I would say probably just take the specific thing out then, because it's already covered to the extent that you
Okay.
want it to be.
Okay.
So I think that if you're leaning that way, it'd be better to just take out H. Would you like me to take it
And
out?
where, what does it say? What is the opposite that you said that's already in there? What language is
So-
already in there?
Under number 1, it does prohibit nuisances, so it prohibits anything that is a public nuisance, meaning maintaining or permitting a condition which unreasonably annoys, injures, or endangers the safety, health, morals, comfort, or repose of any considerable number of members of the public. That's the same as the state definition. Or interferes with, obstructs, or renders dangerous for passage any public highway
Okay.
or right-of-way or waters used by the public. And then it says also, anything that we declare to be a nuisance in this. So
Okay.
you don't need to declare it to be a nuisance necessarily for it to be a nuisance, and if it's already covered by one of those first two things,
It's
and you're
covered.
worried about the specific language,
Yeah.
I would say err on the side of taking the specific language out.
Okay.
yeah, that makes sense.
I would then want to take H out.
Anything else under number 5? I know there was a question about J.
I had that one on my list too. As just a
Did you want to
question.
take that one out as well?
And that would still be covered by nuisance.
Yeah, and that would still
Yeah.
also be covered by any, snow or ice would also be covered by
Yeah.
the snow and ice ordinances as well, so.
Yep.
I will take out J then. And I suppose if we took out J, you probably also wanna take out M, cause I think that went along with the concerns with J, right?
N on there, is that what you said?
M, as in
M.
Mike.
Well,
Oh,
you're talking about wastewaters and sewage though, and,
Yes.
yeah. But what we don't want is people, just dumping their,
yeah.
Dumping your camper.
yeah, or dumping
So-
from their house into the street.
So I think that's separate. I'd
So
say
that
leave
one's
that
fine?
in, yeah.
Item S, I guess, we speak to the reflected glare, from private exterior lighting not to exceed 0.5 foot candles. Just a general comment, how are we gonna possibly measure something like that? If we're not gonna be able to regulate it, why do we even have it in there? I don't know.
I mean, I'm not sure if our law enforcement has something to measure that, or who has something to measure that, I'm sure somebody does. I think it would come into play if somebody's like, my neighbor has a light they leave on all night and it's super, super bright, well, then you'd go out to the property and measure how much
Okay.
light that is.
All right, well then, yeah, we probably should leave it in. All right. Yeah, because I think a lot of those, at least my neighbor has one too, and I have one, motion activated, but it stays on for,
And it's
Short
probably
period, then
not
it goes
super
off,
bright, like, more than 1.5 foot candles is pretty bright.
okay. I will leave it in. Any other discussion?
That's all.
I guess I don't have anything else, do you?
Nothing further with that.
for that? Rest of the council, Kim?
Nope.
Good,
Yep, good,
good.
all right.
So then if the council would like to direct the city attorney to make those changes and to also revise the document so that it's ready for a first reading,
Someone want to
At
put
our
that in the
next
form
meeting,
of
I
motion?
would suggest we do that, put it in the proper wording that we've discussed tonight, and have it presentable in a documented form for us for our next meeting, our second meeting in November, please.
And I'll second that. Put that in the form of a motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have a plan. Thank you, Tegan.
thank you. My pen attacked me.
Okay,
Oh, it's
good
very
discussion.
So sad.
All right, we shall move on to ordinances and resolutions. Our first resolution before us is a resolution approving an industrial user and discharge agreement with Fresha. And I'll let our city manager speak to that, please.
Yeah, so we've been working with our city engineer in Fresha on an agreement to allow Fresha to hook onto our water and sewer. So before you, we had our work session last time to discuss all the ins and outs of the agreement. So in front of you, you have that agreement, and then kind of a surcharge example. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the work session really helped a lot clarify some of the nuts and bolts, I guess, if you will, of the contract itself.
And there were questions from both sides, and then our people that know that and work with that were able to answer the questions as well. So, that's why we pay experts in the water treatment plant to know what it can and cannot take. And
Guess I should point out one change that we did agree to, Dan and I did, was, we talked about a 5-year, but we do have it as a 5-year, and then to look at, all of our numbers and things, and if everything goes well, just an automatic 5-year renewal.
if there was no issues,
Right.
it would be an
Or to
automatic,
be able to change certain things at that 5-year mark.
which
but-
is,
I know.
did we talk about this, or what's different about that then?
Because it was only gonna be just a 5-year. So this has it in there that it's a 5-year, and if there's no limits that need to be raised or no other issues, that it'll automatically renew for another 5 years.
5 plus 5.
Yeah.
And I saw that in there, that the discussion to be held prior to the renewal date between both parties 6 months
Mhm.
beforehand.
Well, it's, when we built our water treatment plant, we built it for this purpose, for adding customers and adding increased volume. So from the water side of things, we have the capacity for sure. And, we're gonna gain some revenue and from that water use, so thank you, Dan. That's gonna help, I guess, from that end. And, I trust Ryan's, judgment on the wastewater part of it, and storm sewer. We have the capacity there in our ponds to accept it. And I don't see any problems with it. Any other council members care to comment?
The only thing we're not sure of will be the wastewater coming in, and that's one of the things that we've agreed on in our discussion was to monitor and to see at the different rates, and that's why there will be some additional fees if they exceed the limits that we've set, but it's gonna be a learning curve, a learning experience with their lagoons and what they're dumping into our system that they can regulate somewhat. So, yeah, we're gonna be a work in progress to figure it out, but I think to have a business that's able to grow and to employ people in our area is a benefit for us.
And just so if anyone wasn't at our work session, we did a utility rate study last year, the year before, and we did had it look at with Fresha added on and without Fresha. So although there is an increase in water rates, as we'll ask for later, it would be higher if they did not come aboard. Just
The increase
anyone.
in water rates is not because Fresh is coming aboard.
correct.
And I think
Yeah.
that needs to be
Absolutely
clarified.
correct. Yep.
And in talking with our water production crew, they figured about an extra hour a day of our facilities running would provide the additional water that we would need to provide Fresha with the water that they believe they'll be using.
Yep.
So,
Well, with all of the discussion we've had and the update there and working with Dan and our engineer, I'm gonna go ahead and make the motion, the resolution approving an industrial user and discharge agreement with Fresha.
I will second that.
Okay. I'm not sure, but I need to ask, with all the resolutions, I guess, if anybody of us received any specific correspondence on this. I mean, there was maybe a couple people that expressed concerns, but I think the concerns that were brought forward were kind of discussed in our work session, so I guess if there was anything different that stood out from any of the rest of you, we could mention that this time, otherwise we'll take a vote on that resolution. Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote on that resolution, please, Carolina.
Councilmember Corrales,
Yes.
Selby, Mailer,
Yes.
Gollison,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes. The next resolution before us is supporting pursuit of 2025 local road improvement program funding from MnDOT for the Darnon Road reconstruction project. And once again, I'll ask Becca to speak to that.
Yeah, so in the last year or so, I've received some complaints from people who live on the Darning Road about frustrations with dust and the gravel. So I did talk with our engineer, and they felt that that road is a good fit for the local road improvement grant program. So that program is a funding assistance for construction, reconstruction, or reconditioning of roads. We would have a cost into it. We would have to pay engineering and testing, but other than that, there is no local match with the road. So this would just state that you would support moving forward with the project.
And the project being to pave the road
To
from
pave the road,
County Road 10 down to State Highway 9,
correct.
and just to making just the paving to get rid of the dust. So it's not a major rebuild of the road, it's gonna be to pave the road.
We'd probably have to build it up, I would assume. But
We probably have to reshape it, make sure it had a crown, but you're correct. It's not ripping it up, it'd be passable, it'd be a short duration project.
I just had some correspondence wondering what was all gonna get done with it, and just stopped and visited at City Hall this afternoon, and then got back to the party that it was going to be basically to improve the road to the conditions to pave the road, because we had the availability of some funds to make that happen, or the majority of the funds, hopefully.
Hopefully it's a successful application.
Yeah, we're gonna move forward with the application in this process, and if we don't get the funds, it's probably not gonna happen.
correct.
What would be the timeline?
Applications are due in December, usually with LRIP, we don't hear until February.
But to do the project in 2026.
26 project.
Yeah, it does say, yep.
That would be a nice project to get done. I know this is not the first time we've talked about that little stretch of road. You know, for the homeowners that live along there is a lot of truck traffic on there, hence a lot of dust. So if we can maybe help, mitigate some of that, I think it'd be a good deal. I guess with that, I'll move on that resolution supporting pursuit of 2025 local road improvement reconstruction or program funding from MnDOT for the Darnon Road reconstruction project.
I will second.
Thank you. Any further discussion from members of the council? Hearing none, I'll ask for roll call vote on that resolution, please.
Councilmember Selby, Corrales,
Yes.
Gollison,
Yes.
Mailer,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes. All right, next resolution before us is a resolution adopting assessment for current services. And I think we all have them in front of us. Becca, I don't know if you want to speak to any of them, you sure can.
Yeah, so these are things we had billed out for that have not been paid. So we've given them opportunity to speak to council and so this is to put them on their assessment as a special assessment on their taxes for next year.
I will move on that resolution adopting assessment for current services.
I will second, and just to note, therefore, miscellaneous different reasons, utility bills, water meter, mowing, fire calls, different things that we've provided services for that we have not been able to collect from individuals for.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. I'll ask for a roll call vote on that resolution, please, Carolina.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Goldston,
Yes.
Correll,
Yes.
Stolpe, Mayor Walner.
Yes. Okay, the next resolution is a resolution increasing sewer and water utility rates for 2026. And again, Becca, I'll let you speak to that one, please.
Yeah, so these rates are come up with from our utility rate studies. We're looking at about 1% with our water and about 4.3, I think it was, with the sewer.
You know, just a general comment on that, the rate increase in my mind is reasonable, and it's fairly low, and I guess the way I look at it is if we can do a little bit each year, it makes a lot more sense than if we just don't do anything, and then all once you're kinda trying to catch up. So I really support the increased levels that you are recommending.
Knowing full well that this is going into the water and or sewer fund, which will go for other
Correct.
projects, upcoming projects.
Correct.
Pertaining to the water and sewer improvement or maintenance, not
Correct.
just into a general, but for water tower upgrades, things that are coming down the road for us that we're gonna be paying for. With that in mind, I will so move approval of a resolution increasing water and sewer utility rates for 2026 as listed, effective January 1 of 2026.
I will second.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote on that resolution. Carolina?
Councilmember Goldston,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Stolpe, Correll,
Yes.
Mayor Walner.
Yes. All right, next resolution is approving a consulting agreement with DDA Human Resources, Inc. Let's see. I can speak to that, I guess, and Jeff, you and I are on the committee. Jeff, maybe you want to take the lead on that one?
You go ahead, you're doing great.
All right.
There's a reason you get that big money extra over the council.
Yeah, big buddy, sure. All right. Okay, well, the hiring committee met last week, and we reviewed 6 different proposals and looked at all of them, and we decided to go with DDA, which is the same firm that we used last go-around. We did modify the services that we're gonna look at this go-around. Last time when we did this about 2 years ago, we paid DDA somewhere in the neighborhood of $23,500, I believe. This go-around, we trimmed some services out that we didn't feel were necessary this time because of DDA's familiarity with our community, and there were just certain things that we just felt we didn't need. So we got it down to around that $18,000 mark, and there was. I just think we all had a very good comfort level. Jeff and I both agreed, and I think the hiring committee also felt that we all had a really good comfort level, and we're very satisfied with DDA. And Patrick is going to also be the same. He's going to be working with us again. I just was very impressed with the entire process from the day they posted the position, all the correspondence back and forth, and the communication was excellent. So really don't know what else to say. Jeff, you got anything to add?
Just by using DDA, we're able to speed up our process quite a bit because they're familiar with us, we're familiar with them from the process we went through 2 years ago. So I think it's a good fit, and I was extremely happy with the job they did for us 2 years ago, and I think everyone felt the same way.
Any comments, questions from members of the council?
I don't. So with that, I will make a motion to approve the resolution approving a consulting agreement with DDA Human Resources, Inc.
I will second that.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any further discussion before we ask for a vote? Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote on that resolution. Carolina?
Councilmember Cornell,
Yes.
Selby, Mailer,
Yes.
Gulson,
Yes.
Mayor Wallace.
Yes. All right, next resolution before us is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an employment agreement. And I guess I can also speak to that. We are very fortunate once again, that former city manager Hill, has agreed to act as our interim, city manager. And what's before us is just an agreement to that end. I'm not sure how I wanna, if we need to speak to any of the specifics about it, but the term, and all that kind of stuff is before us. I read it through, and, this will be our city manager's last meeting. So Blaine will start on the 25th. Vacation's over. Any questions from members of the council? I guess we're very thankful that that Blaine is willing to step in and help us out during this interim period. Hopefully it doesn't take us all that long to find a permanent replacement, but going into our busy budget season, we're very lucky to have someone that's able to step in and help, and that's familiar with our city and familiar with our budget and so forth. So I guess that's really all I have to say about that.
I would just add to what you just stated. I think we're very fortunate to have somebody that has the expertise, experience. Blaine knows Morse knows Blaine, and very fortunate to have somebody that can jump in and take over and hopefully have a smooth transition until we find our new city manager permanently. No other comments. I will move on a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an employment agreement with Mr. Hill to act as a pro tem until we have a replacement.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion from members of the council? Hearing none, I will ask for a roll call vote on that resolution, please.
Councilmember Selby, Correll,
Yes.
Gulson,
Yes.
Mailer,
Yes.
Mayor Wallace.
Yes. All right, our city manager's final newsletter.
Well, I should have wrote about the government shutdown last meeting, but from what I heard, the House or the Senate passed something to help move it along and open the government back up. So the House needs to do the same. I hadn't heard before I left if they know they were coming back in. So hopefully the government will start back up. How it kind of affected us is we do get federal funding for our 7th Street project, closing some items out at the airport with some federal funds and projects there. So kind of getting some held up on some of our federal funding from those sources. So that's how it's kind of affected us at the city level. We're in our finalizing of our budget. So the truth and taxation hearing is on December 9th at 6 o'clock. And then some calendar events that I wanted you guys to be aware of and know. So the Next Level Leaders, since all of our members are more than 2 years in, will be in Alexandria on February 20th and 21st. There is a mayor's program at the event also. It starts earlier than the conference, same day, but just earlier than everyone else. So be thinking about if you want to go to that in February, so maybe in January. Let someone at the city know. There is an upcoming We Cities Fall 2025 challenge that the league is putting on. So each day next week, they'll be putting a different focus topic and different resources for that topic. Different topics such as having difficult conversations, aging inclusion, mentorship, interested party mapping, and leveraging partnerships. So if anyone would like to do that, they say they have different ways to get those resources, videos, reading, different things, all free from the league. You just have to sign up for it. And then Nikki Volt, she did the Live to Lead training in October. She'll be putting another one on at the beginning of the year. So we had many of our department heads that went. Kim was able to go. It was a great event. A few things that stuck out to me. The greatest leaders are the greatest learners. Change is hard, but as the world changes, things need to change. And then you have to fail to learn and improve, but once you do it again and again. So wonderful day of learning, a great thing I feel for the team. I won't be here in January, February when she has it again, but I would keep an eye out for it because it was a really good event that I felt was good for staff. And if you guys are available at that time, I think it was a really good workshop. And just some finishing touches I've been working on. Our sustainability coordinator, she has put in for a grant for a battery backup at the community center, which would include an electric truck. I believe it's the next few months that she'll hear on that. We are still working on preparing to bring in a utility project for next year for the council to approve. 7th Street had the first lift last week. There are some concerns with different spots there that are hopefully will be addressed this week, and then things that'll probably need to be addressed before that second lift goes on in the spring. The contractor for the Wells bathroom was putting the walls up in the shop, and I went past there today, and it is going up, so that'll be nice to get up so we can work on it this winter. Blaine and I met today to go over some budget and projects on where certain projects are and for when he comes in. The liquor store is moving along thanks to Whitney and Dean, so thank you for all your work on that. And then we got a call today from our MnDOT Nathan Gannon, who said since it wasn't used somewhere else, we will be receiving $150,000 in active transportation grants for our State Highway 9 sidewalk project. So some of that areas was not covered by the grant because it wasn't on the MnDOT right of way. It was into our area and our roads, and so since that wasn't used, that'll be in our active transportation agreement. Once that gets done, they'll add a couple amendments from our trail one. So good news for that.
It is good news.
Yeah.
And that'll just happen, that 150?
Yep.
Okay.
There'll be an agreement, so we'll have our active transportation agreement, and then Ryan is working really hard with Nathan, and they'll make sure that.
Bring some agreements.
Okay. I got it wrote down here.
His official word was Morris is getting that extra 150,000, so good for you guys, congratulations.
That's all I needed to know. Ryan's on it. We're good.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions off the city manager's newsletter? Okay, we shall move on. Mayor and city board updates. Anything that anybody care to report from any of their various boards they're on? Now would be a good time. I don't really have anything to report specifically off of any of my boards.
Mine are upcoming.
Yeah, I have one Thursday, but I did go to the Rural Democracy Summit last week and attended that. It was out at the university, and they had few guest speakers there, so there was some good conversations had, and pretty well represented, so that was, it's always good to get together and take a look at rural democracy and how things are shaping up in greater Minnesota. Any other things anybody like to add? If not, we'll move on to like other business here. As once again, this is our city manager's last meeting, and I just sincerely want to say thank you for the last 2 years and all of the work that you've done and all the things that we were able to accomplish in the last 2 years. If you step back and look at the day you got here until today, some of the projects that are in the works, and a lot of the involvement that I can directly attribute to you, your involvement. You threw yourself right into our community the day you got here. You integrated yourself into all the different boards, and so I really do appreciate all of your hard work.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, citizens' comments. Before I open up the citizens' comments, Mayor Wellers does want to just probably, I guess, apologize to a certain extent with regards to our policy. I drew a kind of a hard line in the sand when I was asking people that they needed to call City Hall ahead of time. That's not a hard line. You don't have to do that. As you can see, our policy states you can come in right before the meeting, and then, of course, the way our policy states again, you should check in with the city manager, and if for some reason the city manager doesn't want to accept that speaker, they can appeal to the council. That's the way our policy actually reads. I guess where I was going with that was I was just asking for a little professional courtesy to call ahead. So the two individuals that called in ahead, I do appreciate that, and we do appreciate that, but that is not what our policy states. So again, I would encourage people to call City Hall, because it's just nice for us and for me as the presider of the meeting to know in advance, just have a little notice on who's coming, so we don't get, an onslaught of about a dozen people coming in 2 minutes before the meeting starts and then wants to speak. So that's all I was asking for, is a little professional courtesy. But that being said, I shall open our citizens' comments portion of our meeting, and the first person up is Mary Elizabeth Bezanson.
Apology accepted, Kevin. Council, I am grateful that you have gotten rid of subdivision 4. I don't want the Public Works Director to have to find out if someone is having promiscuous sexual intercourse in a vehicle, because you're allowed to have it if it's not promiscuous. The thing that I'm more concerned about is sidewalks. All snow and ice is to be removed from public sidewalks within 48 hours. A number of years ago, when Blaine was first the city manager, the people at the end of my block didn't shovel their sidewalk, and they didn't seem to be in their house. But I thought, there are a lot of holidays. So I waited through Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, and New Year's, and called the city hall, and nothing happened. So the next Monday, I called the city hall to say it hadn't been shoveled. Now, some neighbors were shoveling in the front on 8th Street, but not on the side that you could see from City Hall, ironically. So it snowed again, but stopped. So I walked to the Willys and fell in the street. And as I was lying there, I thought, it's much easier to fall on snow than on the yard. That was good. And I was looking at the sky and thinking it's very pretty. And then I realized that the Chips guy was sitting in his truck. And I thought, oh my gosh, he could come and help me. That would be horribly embarrassing. I have never gotten up faster than that day when I was lying in the street. So then I went home and called the city, and then somebody did something. So I agree with Becca. We need more grit and bite in getting these things cleared. It is not okay that people are not safe on sidewalks in the winter. And Kim and I had the year before a discussion where she said, our problem is it doesn't stop snowing. And she's right, and it's supposed to be colder and snowier this year, so we need bite. The other thing I would suggest is adding something to the document. I think sump pumps should not be allowed to dump onto the sidewalk. So a number of people in town dump their sump pumps onto sidewalks. And if they don't put the water switch into the city, those places have frozen. And that is dangerous because you don't expect it. The other thing is that a couple of people have put protective blocks around their sump pumps that are on the sidewalk. So at night, if you're walking along, you can trip on that and go down. And if you're, I know we shouldn't be riding a bike at night without a light on, but if you're 12, you might be, that could hurt you badly. Sidewalks should be cleared. There's something in here somewhere about that, but we allow people to park cars forever and interfere with people's ability to walk. So I'm for sidewalks.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm gonna take 15 more seconds.
Sorry.
I wanna thank Becca for her son being willing to become a veteran.
Thank you.
Next up would be Annette Watson.
I also was gonna start with Veterans Day, and then Kevin stole my thunder, Mary Elizabeth stole my thunder, but yay Air Force, right? And all the other service members, branches as well. But, you know, when people come to this meeting, I just wanna talk a little about myself. The reason why I come to the meetings, and I, sat and listened to meetings for a long time, even before there was stuff going on in town, it's because I love Minnesota, I love this town, and I love the people in this town. And, I have traveled, up and down, greater Minnesota and talked with people and have been engaged in thinking about politics. And for those of you who know that I've been working on a degree and got my doctoral certificate in law and policy, that, I want to be more engaged in my town. But it's because of love that we show up and we listen. And I have talked with you guys before about two things I want to talk to you about tonight, and that is putting the people's comments at the very end. It's not showing very much respect to us. I know that the first time that Kevin talked about putting the public comments at the end, it was about people who had called him that said that they wanted to come. And since that time, I haven't seen anyone new sign up or come to public comments. And then later it broadened to it's easier for you guys to put us at the end. And I'll admit that there's a different flavor to both putting it at the beginning and putting it at the end, but I would again ask you to put it at the beginning of the comment period. So today, had it been at the beginning and I would have been talking about, the ordinance and, you guys were striking things or whatever, the people would feel like you were listening to us because, we want to strike things too. So part of loving Morris and having such a tight-knit town, and I want the people who come here to also, feel that love and feel like they can live their American dream in this town. What I saw happen with this ordinance was everything, online at the website, Tegan pulled off and said, here are all the possibilities that you could choose, and then now you're crossing them out. I would want you to look at it the opposite way if I was advising you, and that is looking at what we do have, asking what we actually need. Just like Mary Elizabeth was saying, these are the ones we actually need teeth for. And then starting in subdivision 10, this is the problems that I saw this summer. Subdivision 10 to the end, that is the teeth that we are looking for, the numbers that we're looking for, how do we solve these problems? And so I don't object to having people know what the procedures are. It was a 3-page document if you were looking at your charter, and it turned into a 10-page document. That's why I think it's overkill. You guys were crossing off things, so you're making those pages shorter. But again, just looking at what do we actually need, and put those in as opposed to just start with everything and then cross out the things we don't, so that people can live their American dream in this town. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. That concludes our citizens' comments portion of the agenda. Is there anything else that the council would like to bring before, to the attention of the council, I guess? Hearing none,